the depths of hell could have forged a diamond this special?
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me. My name is Nicole, and today I'm going to be going over how to find and book loads on the load board called Truckstop. Well, the first thing you're going to need is a hot cup of coffee, and the second thing you're going to need is a Truckstop membership. These memberships are about $150 a month. So we'll go ahead and show you what it's all about. All right, let's dive right in. So once you have your membership and you log in, this is the home screen. This is where you're going to start a new search. So we'll go ahead and click this. The first thing you're going to want to do is enter your equipment. You'll see in this drop down, you'll have van, flatbed, reefer, van or reefer, because sometimes either can be used for a load, and all these other fancy options. I mean, the list just goes on. Luckily, my job is made more simple by the fact that we just use van. Now, once you click that, you're going to want to click out of the screen there and move on to max weight and max length. I don't enter max length because I have a 53-foot van, which is as big as they get. But if you had a 48-foot van, you'd want to put that in here so that you're not seeing loads that you don't have the capacity for. Next, most importantly, is the pickup date. I am personally looking for a load for Wednesday. Next is the origin. My driver is going to be in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. You can type it right in. Just type it in to show you. Now, Truckstop will show you every Chambersburg in the country. They're pretty good for that. I think they work with Google Maps. Now, radius. Radius is the radius from that zip code that you're going to be searching for all your available loads. This is also known as deadhead. So what that means is once your driver's empty, in this case in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, that's the distance he's going to have to travel empty in order to get to his reload. It goes without saying, you want that number as low as possible because empty miles don't pay anything. I will adjust this number depending how desperate I am to find a load, or a particular load going to a particular place. You'll see down here it's already populated with the search criteria, 443 loads, but the lower I make this number, the lower this number will get, the less loads are available. An 80-mile radius is a pretty good starting point. If I truly can't find anything by the day that I need this load booked, I'll bump that back up to the 125. The destination, I generally leave this as anywhere because we truly will go anywhere with some parameters, and I'll get into that later. Now, let's say there were, 1,500 loads available at this point instead of 182. I might opt to go into this function, the map function, so that I can select the states that I'm willing to go to. And that way you're not going to see all these extra loads that you already know you're not going to book. For example, we do not go northwest of Colorado. We don't really go to Nevada because there's no good reloads out of there. We don't operate in California because it's a pain in the butt. And you'll see the load density here. So this shows you that with your search criteria, your origin, zip code, and that deadhead, the density of loads that are going. So you'll see Texas is pretty high, and Ohio, and not New York, Pennsylvania are pretty high. So, for the sake of this video, I will select all the states that we do operate in. Oops. We do not go to Florida, but I'm going to select it because I want to show you guys a little bit about Florida. I'm not going to select Massachusetts because we're not going there either. Now, once you've selected all that, you're going to hit your 147 loads, and they will populate here. So you'll see all of these columns, and you are able to sort this information using any one of these criteria. So we'll start with rate. This is the total rate, the total load pay. This is the highest one. 3,000 sounds pretty good, right? But the rate per mile tells a little bit of a different story. As you're going into this, guys, and you will learn this for yourself. There's a certain rate per mile I will not go below. I generally don't consider loads below $2.30. If I get desperate, I will take special consideration. Rate per mile. Generally, when you start to see these really high rate per miles, you'll also see that they're shorter hauls. I don't rely very heavily on rate per mile when booking loads because I have a certain amount of money that my truck needs to earn every day. And so $850 for the day, I probably would not consider unless I had another load get canceled and I had to get to my next reload and I was desperate. It's also, I would take into consideration if it was a same day pick and drop. If this is a 96-mile load and the appointment is next day in the afternoon, then basically they're occupying your truck for 2 full days for $850. It's absolutely unacceptable. So in that case, I would not consider it. Next is the ODH, which is origin deadhead. This is what we were talking about before with the radius. So this is the number of miles your truck is going to have to travel empty to get to your reload. Coffee is essential. Oops. So we're going to hit deadhead. I usually start with this filter for my search because no matter what, you don't want your truck driving empty. So if you can avoid it, you should. Next is the pickup date. Also very important that you are booking a load for the correct day. It's pretty embarrassing if you mix that up. You have the origin city, the origin state, destination city, destination state. If, let's say, my driver is trying to get home, I will do a sort from state. And my driver is from Kentucky, so I would scroll down. Oops. There we are. And look at Kentucky specifically. Right here you'll find the weight, so you want to know what your truck can gross. Your gross weight is the weight of the entire tractor, trailer, and the freight that's on it. So in the case of my truck, I generally don't book loads that are any more than 45,000 pounds because we cannot gross more than 80,000. That's what our truck is rated for. The age is how long it's been on the board. So let's say I have been on the board for an hour searching for a load and I haven't found anything that I want. I will set it to age refresh it, and just watch new loads pop up. And I'll check on it, every half an hour and see if there's anything new up, and so that I can jump on it. Actions, you can favorite your loads, and it'll populate them down here so that you can go ahead and compare them. I really like this function because I'm a visual person and I can see everything, all the information, and also use a little process of elimination and decide, oh, that's actually not so good after all. The only thing about this I wish Truckstop would fix is that when you're in this view, you can't see the deadhead. So it's a little bit harder. It makes it a little bit harder to make an accurate comparison. And then finally, if you look at a load and you say, ugh, that's not the load, you can exit out and hide it. And then over here you'll see tags. Most loads don't have tags, but this is where you might, oh, you can't sort by tags, but this is where you'll see if something's hazmat, and we do not have placards, so we do not book hazmat loads. Track just means tracking is required. We'll get into that probably in another video. Okay, so next, we'll go up here. You can favorite your companies. Hold on, let's back up. So you can double click a load and it will present the information in this way. You'll see the origin state, the destination, the total number of miles, the weight, that it requires a 53-foot van. It'll show you a fuel estimate. I don't pay much mind to that because there's not much you can do about fuel cost. You'll see the pickup and the drop off. Sometimes brokers will put an actual appointment time. Let's see if I can find a different one. Okay, like this. This one picks up at 9 p.m. It's really nice when brokers put this because I'm going to look at this and say 9 p.m. doesn't work for us, and so I'm not going to waste the time calling them. I really appreciate when brokers put that. It saves time for everybody. Most of them do not. So here you'll see it's a range 7 to 4:36. That's an odd time. But that means that it's first come, first serve. So what that means is exactly as it sounds. You'll be given a window of opportunity to go to the shipper or the receiver, and it's first come, first serve. This can be favorable because it's more flexible, and you can't really be late for a first come, first serve. But it can also be unfavorable because they don't pay attention until after 3 hours of you being there, and also you're kind of taking a chance that you're going to end up sitting there for a while. But then with an appointment time, you could be late, and that's not good either. So there's a advantage and disadvantage to both. You can favorite companies so that it puts a heart next to them if you particularly like them. I actually like Megacore, so we like PLS. You can also block companies so that you don't see their loads. Depending on the day, I have TQL blocked, but that's another story for another day. If you ever want to see the list of block companies and unblock them, you can. I have brokers blocked for different reasons. Maybe they messed with me one day and I don't want to work with them anymore. Or maybe they won't work with us because we haven't had our authority long enough. Now, get rid of these. So when booking loads, you really need to have a clear picture of your driver's hours of service, how many hours they have available that day and even the next day. So you can run your hours two different ways. You can max out your hours, meaning your driver is driving up to 11 hours a day, and he or she can have up to 14 hours on duty in a day. On duty includes fueling and loading and unloading and pre and post trip inspections. If you choose to run this way, at the end of 70 hours, your driver will have to take a 34-hour reset. There is an alternative way to run hours, which my driver prefers, and I try to honor that, and that is to run between 8.5 hours a day, and then you don't need a 34-hour reset at the end of that. You can just continue running until the end of time. He never has to reset. Still needs his 10-hour reset, but he doesn't need the 34. We like running that way because my driver doesn't like to sit around in truck stops. He likes to keep moving, and also it can be really fatiguing driving 11 hours a day. So we do try and run that way. So when doing that, I will really use distance and deadhead. I will weigh those very heavily. So you're going to want to allow for 2 hours of load time and 2 hours of unload time. And those, as I said, are on duty hours. So if he's trying to keep it under 8.5 and it's a next day delivery, I'm looking for something between 200 and 300 miles. So I would be down in here looking for loads. If it's a 2-day trip, I can get a little more miles per day because he's not getting loaded and unloaded within a 24-hour period. So I would be looking down in the 600 to 700 mile range. And that would be a 2-day trip, as I said. You have to be careful in the low 600s because a driver generally can do about 600 miles a day. So you might find down in the lower 600s that you'll see here, it's a next day drop. So if you're recapping hours and it's 578 miles and it's a next day drop, that's not going to work for you. So I just get rid of it. When you get in the high 600s, this one's next day. Sometimes when you get this high mileage next day, not so much this one, but it'll end up being a team load. Let's see. This is also next day. And it's not to say that it's impossible to do this next day, but you're not going to deliver it in the morning. It's going to be an afternoon delivery. So this is actually 9 p.m. So that would be possible. I'm actually going to star that one. Although I think Chris would have words with me if I booked him a 9 p.m. delivery. All right. So finally, you're going to see company. And we'll get into that now. So as the person who's going to be booking loads for your company and for your driver, you get the lovely job of dealing with these different companies, aka brokers, aka used car salesmen. Now, they're not all bad, but generally they are really just preserving themselves, and it's their job to get the lowest price possible out of the carriers because the margin between what their customers paying them and what they're paying us is the money that they're making. And a lot of times they'll be really nice on the phone when you're trying to book the load, but they kind of switch as soon as you're loaded. You will get to know which companies are nice to work with, which companies are not nice to work with. I generally like to work with smaller firms. Here's a broker I like, Giltner. So when you click the load here, it's going to pop up and show you more details about it. So you'll have the rate and the rate per mile. Not every broker posts the rate or the rate per mile. You'll see one that just came up here that does not have the rate posted. I don't know why. I haven't figured out the rhyme or reason to that. I do generally go for loads that have a rate posted. But if a load's going somewhere I want to go, or I'm having a hard time finding anything else, I will start making phone calls and getting more information about those loads. So this one shows the posted rate, the rate per mile. Truckstop will give you a rate estimate, so it looks like their posted rate is a little low. The pickup date and time, and the drop-off date and time. It is really nice when the brokers put a lot of information in this, because sometimes I can rule out that a load isn't right for me without me calling. This one does look like it's 8 to 3. So 8 to 3 means first come, first serve, which is exactly as it sounds, first come, first serve. You used to be able to pause this so new loads didn't populate when you're in the middle of something, but they changed that. Okay, Giltner. And then they'll also show you what their net pay is. This is 13 days. That's actually a pretty short payment period. Most brokers are 30 to 31 business days. So weekends and holidays don't count. It can take up to 6 weeks to get paid for a load. And their experience is A. That means they've been in business for a while, and generally means that they don't have any negative reviews or claims against them. It shows their MC number and their DOT. Every broker has to have an MC and a DOT in order to be in business. I don't generally use a view more details button. I don't usually find that it gives me any additional pertinent information. It just presents it in a different way, and Truckstop gives you all these stats. If anyone watching this uses Truckstop and wants to tell me that there's some really great information I'm missing out on here, I think it's just all sort of a nicety for Truckstop to offer, but you are probably going to learn your own way and figure out how to do things for yourself without that information. So earlier I was talking about sometimes with these high rate per miles, you can get blinded by them and accidentally send your driver somewhere that you don't want to send them. I think I got rid of all the Florida loads, but generally you'll find things going to Florida that pay really well, and I have fallen victim to that. Here we go. Well, these actually don't pay that great. They generally do. So I'm just going to show you what happens when you send your driver to Florida. So this is any pickup date within 125 miles of Tampa, Florida, 556 loads. 56 cents a mile. That's a partial. This is generally where they're going to be at, under $2 a mile. $1.90, that's about as good as it gets. when you find high rate per miles in Florida, they're almost always going somewhere within Florida. Where's that going? Yeah, these are all going to Florida. Destination state, let's see. That's not too bad going to Alabama. These are actually some of the highest rates coming out of Florida I've ever seen. That's really interesting. They also picked up yesterday. That's not helpful. I'm not gonna lie, guys, these are looking better than the last time I sent him there. The reason the rates in Florida are so low is because there are not a lot of loads coming out of there. So people go there, you know, drivers are from there, they go there, they spend time with their family, they vacation, and then everybody's fighting for these scraps to get out of there. The last time I sent my driver there, I found this load that just paid amazing. I couldn't pass it up. The broker was so happy we took it. He got down there to Tampa, and I booked him a Pepsi load. Y'all, don't book Pepsi loads. That was going up to Atlanta, and he sat at the shipper for, I think, 5 hours. And I finally called the broker, told him we were not going to be picking up, and my driver had to deadhead to Atlanta to make it to his next pickup in time. That's just one horror story. I'm still learning. It's really just been trial by fire for me. Mike will attest to that. It's a really complicated business. There's so much to learn. I don't think I could ever stop learning. Just when I get comfortable with dry van, I hope that we will pick up some flatbed loads, and that's just going to add a whole new dimension, a whole new realm of learning. So I think that that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope that this was informative, and I would really like to do more of these. If you could leave it down in the comments section, tell me what else you'd like to know, what else I can show you. And in addition to that, we are going to be booking some loads live and sharing that with you all. So that should be a lot of fun. You can hear the ridiculousness that I deal with. Thanks again for joining me. Remember to subscribe and smash that like button, and we'll see you on the next one.